In Lin Chia's spiritual perception, there were at least 20 mysteries surrounding him from all directions. They stared straight at Lin Chia in the center of the alley, completely ignoring each other's existence, like a group of puppets without consciousness. Are they being controlled by someone? Lin Chia instantly sensed something was wrong. Generally speaking, even among mysteries, there would be competition or predatory hostile relationships between them. A situation like this where more than 20 mysteries cooperated in perfect coordination was almost impossible. Recalling the scene at the Li family estate where that monster was searching for Li Jianbai, Lin Chia could almost certainly determine that the entity controlling these mysteries now was the same person who massacred the Li family. And where did these suddenly appearing 20-plus mysteries come from? The answer was obvious. During these 4 years, it wasn't that Linjiang City had no mysteries, but rather that all the descending mysteries had been subjugated by someone one step ahead. Lin Chia's mind quickly connected all the clues, and as his eyes swept across his surroundings he calmly said, "If it were someone else facing so many mysteries, they would indeed be at a disadvantage. Unfortunately for you, you've encountered me." Lin Chia took a step forward, splashing rainwater as several magical light bursts appeared around him. Figures wearing green caretaker uniforms appeared out of thin air around Lin Chia, their forms blurring as they charged toward those mysteries. The two groups of mysteries collided in the rain-soaked alley, each with different realms and abilities, instantly creating numerous battlefields. The battle's shockwaves immediately shattered surrounding buildings into pieces. Fortunately, this was an old district scheduled for demolition, far enough from Hanshan Orphanage that no one would be accidentally injured. Lin Chia stood in place holding his umbrella, his eyes emitting a faint golden light as they slowly scanned the surroundings. "Let me guess, where are you hiding?" Lin Chia's spiritual perception couldn't locate the mastermind behind this. Either they were using some power to conceal their presence, or they were hiding beyond the range of Lin Chia's perception, remotely controlling these mysteries. Relatively speaking, Lin Chia was more inclined toward the former. It's worth noting that there isn't a second divine mental hospital in the world. The ability to control mysteries was something he had never heard of before. Being able to control such a number of mysteries was already astonishing enough. If they could also control them from an extremely long distance, that would be too monstrous. Meanwhile, on a factory rooftop 1 kilometer away, Wu Quan, covered by a gray plastic bag, frowned deeply. He can also control these monsters? Could it be that his ability is the same as mine? No, impossible. Wu Quan remained silent for a moment, determination appearing in his eyes. He raised both hands on the factory rooftop, like a conductor about to begin a performance, and gently waved toward the distant battlefield. Boom! Red Face, who was charging through the old district, suddenly felt her body sink, then move uncontrollably as if no longer under her command, turning her head and flying away. Her form expanded rapidly in the wind, instantly transforming into a giant red dragon, raising its head high as a ball of intense heat quickly condensed in its throat. Roar! The scorching dragon breath tore through the rain curtain, heading straight for Lin Chia in the center of the alley. Lin Chia's pupils contracted as his form instantly vanished into the void, avoiding the flame-veined dragon breath, and half a second later he stepped out of thin air hundreds of meters away. He can even control my caretakers? Lin Chia's face showed shock as he watched Red Face spinning in the sky. Before he could recover from his surprise, the space around him was disrupted, twisting rapidly like a Rubik's Cube, trapping him in chaotic space. Lin Chia's expression darkened as he looked up to see the chaotic cube spinning in the air, trapping him within its domain. Strands of spider silk cut through the air, weaving into a large net that covered all escape routes around Lin Chia. "Director, run. I can't control my..." Azu stood in a corner of the alley, controlling the spider silk with his 10 fingers, anxiously speaking. Halfway through his sentence, his mouth seemed to be zipped shut, quickly closing, unable to utter another word. The chaotic cube and Azu were not of high realm, so Lin Chia simply used Zhanbai to cut through space and quickly escaped. His spiritual perception swept the surroundings, confirming that except for a few Klein-level caretakers, all other caretakers had been controlled and had joined forces with Linjiang City's native mysteries to deal with him. Even those Klein-level caretakers' bodies began to twist strangely, as if someone was pulling an invisible thread, fighting for control of their bodies. Lin Chia's face darkened. Without hesitation he sent all the caretakers back to the hospital. In that case I'll kill all these mysteries, and see how long you can hold out. He gripped Hunbai, with one hand as a shade of night rapidly spread beneath his feet, making the already gloomy sky visibly darker. Lin Chia stood in the center of the alley, fully releasing his Klein-level realm pressure, with furnace-like golden flames burning fiercely in his eyes. These mysteries in Linjiang City were at most of the Wuliang realm. Even without using the caretaker's power, killing all of them would only be a matter of time for Lin Chia. Just as Lin Chia was about to strike with his blade, a sudden change occurred. The rain pouring from the sky suddenly began to rotate around Lin Chia, as if guided by an invisible baton, gathering into a meandering water vortex in an instant. Lin Chia's eyes narrowed. Just as he was about to act, his body became as heavy as if filled with lead, as if an invisible force was compressing his muscles, trying to take control of his physical form. At the same time, Lin Chia's blood flow became increasingly sluggish, and his brain, due to insufficient blood supply, began to feel dizzy with darkening vision. He can not only control mysteries, but also matter and the human body. This thought flashed through Lin Chia's mind. As if to confirm his thoughts, the ground beneath his feet instantly formed a pair of large hands that grabbed at Lin Chia's ankles like lightning. With his body rigid, Lin Chia was caught off guard and controlled by these hands. The water tornado flew toward him, transforming into a mass of water that surrounded him. Mysteries from all directions converged upon him. Lin Chia's brows furrowed as he let out a cold snort. Shape-shifting magic light flashed across his body, transforming him into a frost giant dragon that instantly broke free from the earth and water's restraints, soaring into the sky. After hiding for so long, isn't it time to show your face? The frost giant dragon transformed back into Lin Chia's original form, and the hand gripping Zhanbai flashed with brilliant golden light. He closed his eyes and backhandedly threw the blade of Hunbai. Under the effect of the miracle, Hunbai randomly selected a direction and flew out like lightning. Wu Quan's body was shrouded in a gray plastic bag, his eyes fixed on the distant battlefield, his fingers moving in some mysterious trajectory, as if conducting a large-scale performance. Swoosh! Just then a sharp blade light cut through the sky, flying toward him at an astonishing speed. The grim blade light cut through the dense rain curtain, and just as it was about to fall on the gray plastic bag, Wu Quan immediately freed one hand and made a grasping motion in the air toward the flying blade. The edge of white slash, slightly deflected, flying past Wu Quan's position. The blade seemed to be guided by some mysterious force, circling around him twice before vertically hovering in front of him. Just when Wu Quan thought the crisis was over, Lin Chia, who was deep in the battlefield in the distance, narrowed his eyes, and both his body and white slash simultaneously radiated magical light. In the next moment his figure crossed space and arrived before white slash in one step. Reverse summoning formation. Wu Quan's pupils suddenly contracted. So you're hiding here? Lin Chia's gaze and mental power had not captured Wu Quan's form screened by the gray plastic bag, but this did not affect his next move. In Lin Chia's eyes, a faint purple light suddenly erupted, a kingly aura surging out like tumultuous waves, and terrifying pressure instantly descended on every inch of land around. Come out! Lin Chia roared like the rage of a tyrant, anger like thunder. Wu Quan, shrouded in the gray plastic bag, felt an unprecedented pressure hitting his chest like a heavy hammer, and his entire body was involuntarily thrown backward. In the pouring rain, a gray cloud-like plastic bag flew up into the sky, and a young figure bounced out from the invisible environment, falling heavily to the ground. Wu Quan. Lin Chia saw the young man's painful face and frowned tightly. Wu Quan stumbled and fell in the rain, both hands supporting the ground trying to stand up, but the next moment a figure flashed in front of him. Lin Chia held, white slash, the blade directly against his neck. If Wu Quan made the slightest movement, this blade would easily cut off his head. It's you? Lin Chia narrowed his eyes. These past 4 years, secretly controlling Linjiang City's mysteries, ordering the massacre of the entire Li family, it was all you? Wu Quan's lips were slightly pursed, looking at Lin Chia, who was like the king of the night before him, remaining silent. Speak. Lin Chia said coldly. Yes. Are you insane? Lin Chia grabbed his collar, his eyes fixed on this young but stubborn face, growling, secretly controlling Linjiang City's mysteries. No one would hold you responsible for this. In a sense, it's a merit rather than a fault. But you actually massacred the entire Li family? They were just ordinary people. Even if their methods weren't clean, they certainly didn't deserve to die. Killing over 30 Li family leaders in one go, this is the behavior of a demon. A demon? So what? In Wu Quan's eyes flashed a bone-chilling coldness. They hurt Grandpa Lu and wanted to force us to move out. If they want to be ruthless, I'll be even more ruthless. Only by killing them all could I protect this home. Seeing the madness flashing in Wu Quan's eyes, Lin Chia froze in place. His expression was somewhat complex. Just as old Lu said, this child's psychology was somewhat pathological. When encountering certain problems, his approach would often be more extreme than normal people. Now Lin Chia truly understood this. Regardless, this kind of behavior is criminal. Lin Chia took a deep breath. For malicious superhumans, night watchers have the right and duty to detain and arrest them at any time. You must come with me to the fasting house. Hearing these words, Wu Quan was stunned, then shook his head vigorously. No, I won't go with you. I want to stay here. This is not up to you, Lin Chia said expressionlessly. Afterward, I will personally explain to Director Lu at the orphanage, but I will conceal the fact of your crime and imprisonment, finding an excuse to take you away from Linjiang. Wu Quan gritted his teeth and quickly retreated, disregarding Lin Chia's blade. But unfortunately, Wu Quan's physical condition seemed not strong, just maintaining the standard of an ordinary person. Lin Chia only took one step forward, and his hand firmly grasped Wu Quan's shoulder. Tyrant's rage, activated again, surging power poured into Wu Quan's body, instantly suppressing him firmly. Large beads of sweat seeped from his skin and he could no longer move a step. I said, this is not up to you, Lin Chia said calmly. Wu Quan's face was extremely pale, seemingly struggling against the tyrant's power within his body, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not break free from Lin Chia's grasp. His pupils flashed with determination, a dim light flashed, and in the next moment from the abandoned factory building beneath their feet, countless pieces of scrap metal flew up, heading straight for their position. The swaying wind and rain seemed to be waved by an invisible hand, surging toward Lin Chia's face like a mountain-toppling sea. Lin Chia's face sank and the hand gripping Wu Quan's shoulder applied even more force. In the arrest of a malicious superhuman out of control, Lin Chia had the authority to execute them on the spot. Through this brief direct contact, he had seen that Wu Quan's physical condition was almost no different from an ordinary person. If he applied just a bit more force with his hand, he could easily crush his internal organs. But he was unwilling to do so. Firstly because Wu Quan was just a child and secondly because he was Xin Qingzhu's brother. Even if they had no blood relation. I warn you, if you continue to make useless resistance, I will directly tell Director Lu everything you've done, Lin Chia said coldly. Do you want your next meeting to be across prison bars? Wu Quan froze, the image of the elderly, talkative old Lu appearing in his mind. He pursed his lips and after a moment of struggle, all the sharp weapons surrounding the two fell back to their original places, and the howling wind and rain also returned to calm. Seeing this, Lin Chia's heart slightly relaxed. Seemed his guess was not wrong. Wu Quan was not essentially bad, he just cared too much about the people in the orphanage. More than his own life and death, he was more worried that old Lu and others would be anxious if they knew he was arrested and imprisoned. Old Lu was already approaching his twilight years. If he learned that the child he had raised ended up in prison for murder and genocide, it would definitely be a fatal blow to him. I can go with you, Wu Quan said slowly after a long silence. But I have one condition. No, a request. Linjiang City. The Night Watchman's Station. By Li Pangpang, Chao Yuan, and others looked through the one-way glass at the young man sitting silently in the interrogation room, their expressions filled with shock. It's him. 7 nights, are you sure about this? There's no mistake, I've already fought with him. Lin Chia shook his head and said, his ability is extremely troublesome. He can not only control mysteries, but also weather phenomena, metals and even the human body. There's an ability like that? I've never heard of it before. I haven't heard of it either. But on the way back I already reported this to headquarters, so we should get results soon. Lin Chia checked the time, then turned to Bai Li Pangpang and said, "By the way, go to the entrance later to meet Director Liu." Director Liu? Bai Li Pangpang was stunned, then seemed to realize something and lowered his voice. 7 nights, you didn't tell Director Liu about what this kid did you? No. Lin Chia glanced at Wu Quan, who sat with his head down in the interrogation room. The kid said he wanted to see Director Liu before leaving. Take him out of the interrogation room, find a tea house and let them talk for a while. All right. Just as Bai Li Pangpang was about to release Wu Quan, the phone rang and Lin Chia quickly answered. Commander Swa. On the other end of the phone, Zhu Qing's voice was solemn. Lin Chia, I've looked at all the materials you sent me. This time we found quite an extraordinary child. Lin Chia was stunned. What? According to your description, the only ability that matches this child's is the 4th King Ruins, Emperor of Dominion. King Ruins. Lin Chia's eyes narrowed and he spoke with surprise. No wonder it was so difficult to deal with. This King Ruins is no small matter, Zhu Qing said seriously. Do you know who was recorded in history as the last person to possess this ability? Who? The predecessor of the great Xia Night Watchman, the first chief of the Demon Suppression Bureau, the first top-tier expert champion Marquis Hu Tsubing. Lin Chia's mouth fell open in shock. Emperor of Dominion. Possesses the ability to control all tangible matter, including but not limited to human bodies, animals, fire, water. The emotions of Emperor of Dominion can directly affect weather phenomena, lightning and thunder when angry, pouring rain when sad, clear and sunny when at ease, and so on. Moreover, its control over mysteries far exceeds its control over other substances, meaning Emperor of Dominion has an innate suppressive effect on all mysteries. Theoretically, as long as the possessor's mental strength is powerful enough, it can achieve unlimited dominion over mysteries. Back then, General Hu Tsubing established the Demon Suppression Bureau with this ability, personally imprisoning thousands of mysteries. It is said that his grand aspiration was to dominate all mysteries within Great Xia's borders, thus achieving peace throughout the land with no more evil spirits. Dominate all mysteries in Great Xia? That powerful? Lin Chia exclaimed in shock. If this could truly be achieved, it would mean Great Xia would never again be troubled by mysteries. This was incredibly important for humanity. From this perspective alone, the importance of Emperor of Dominion to humans might even surpass the 3rd King Ruins, immortality, and the 2nd King Ruins, Buddha of Destiny. Of course, I'm only describing the ideal situation. The fact is, even humanity's first top-tier expert couldn't achieve this, which indicates that Emperor of Dominion also has its limits, at least for humans. Zhu Qing paused for a moment before continuing. Moreover, this King Ruins has many drawbacks, the most significant being an extremely short lifespan. Lin Chia was stunned. What do you mean? A short life? You could say that. Do you know how old the champion Marquis was when he passed away? Without waiting for Lin Chia to answer, Zhu Qing continued, 24 years old. And that was under the condition that he had become the first top-tier expert and touched the threshold of godhood. The cause of the champion Marquis' death has always been one of history's greatest mysteries. Only a very few people know that he died because the King Ruins' inherent drawbacks caused his lifespan to reach its limit. According to our estimates, their lifespan is like a miniature version of a normal person's. 1 year for them is approximately equivalent to 4 years for an ordinary person. If they don't reach the level of humanity's top-tier experts, possessors of the 4th King Ruins can only live to 18 to 20 years old. But because of this, possessors of the 4th King Ruins progress extremely quickly. It's said that the champion Marquis only took 3 years from awakening Emperor of Dominion to becoming humanity's top-tier expert. Lin Chia turned his head to look at Wu Quan, who was leaving the interrogation room with understanding in his eyes. No wonder Wu Quan, at only 14 or 15 years old, could possess Klein-level mental power and even fight toe-to-toe with him. But this also means this child only has 3 or 4 years of life left. The second drawback of Emperor of Dominion is that regardless of how much their mental strength grows, the possessor's physical attributes will not improve. Even if they reach the level of humanity's top-tier experts, they're still ordinary people who can be killed by a single bullet, Suiqing slowly explained. They can dominate everything in the world, but they themselves are extremely fragile. Unless, like the champion marquis of that year, they train and forge their physical body to human limits through battle, this will always be a fatal flaw. The final drawback is the range of dominion. Emperor of Dominion can only control objects within 3 kilometers of themselves. Even at the level of humanity's top-tier experts, they can only control a range not exceeding 5 kilometers. This means that in battle, the inherently fragile Emperor of Dominion must always be near the center of the battle, making them easy targets for decapitation. After hearing about these 3 major drawbacks, Lin Chia let out a long sigh. Looking at it this way, although the ability of Emperor of Dominion was abnormal, it had too many flaws. No wonder it was only ranked as the 4th King Ruins. However, from the perspective of unlimited dominion, it was definitely the most important King Ruins for humanity. So how should we handle this child? Lin Chia asked. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. Handle it as you normally would. Although he possesses Emperor of Dominion, his character is too extreme and he has massacred civilians. If this issue with his mentality can't be resolved, he might not only fail to become an asset to humanity but could become a disaster instead. Send him to the fasting house and let Li Yongguang discipline him. Li Yongguang? Hearing this name, Lin Chia was first stunned, then the image of Dr. Li from the Sunshine Psychiatric Hospital appeared in his mind. Is it him? Hearing what Suiqing meant, Dr. Li seemed not so simple. After a moment's thought, Lin Chia became convinced of this idea. How could a doctor who independently manages a mental hospital in the most central part of Zhaijie Institute, a prison for malignant superpower users, possibly be an ordinary person? This matter can only be entrusted to you, Suiqing instructed. The power of Emperor's Dominion is too strong, and coupled with this child's extreme personality, if something really happens, there aren't many people in the Night Watchers who can control him. Since you captured him personally, you must deliver him safely to Zhaijie Institute. I understand, Lin Chia nodded. Lin Chia hung up the phone, his gaze sweeping across the empty interrogation room, and let out a long sigh. Wu Quan had already been taken away by Bailey Pang Pang and the others to sit down at a tea house. The old man Lu should have arrived nearby by now. Lin Chia pushed the door open. As he walked near the tea house, he saw Wu Quan and old man Lu sitting in the most conspicuous position by the glass door, while Bailey Pang Pang and the others sat down in a coffee shop across the street, monitoring their position from afar. Lin Chia didn't disturb Wu Quan and old man Lu, but instead sat down in the coffee shop, silently observing the situation in the tea house with his mental power. Any news from headquarters? Bailey Pang Pang asked. Yes. Lin Chia repeated the information about Emperor's Dominion, and everyone's faces showed shock. The 4th King's Ruins. This kid is that powerful? Bailey Pang Pang muttered. He's only 15. If we let him grow for another 2 or 3 years, wouldn't he be on par with the captains of the special teams? That's too abnormal. If 2 or 3 years later he hasn't died from his lifespan defect, his strength should far exceed the captains of the special teams. After all, there's only one 4th King's Ruins in this world. Lin Chia paused, then continued. However, this child probably can't become a Night Watcher. Why not? Chao Yuan asked, puzzled. His personality is too extreme. Making him a Night Watcher, the risk might outweigh the benefit. After all, who can guarantee he won't destroy the city when he goes berserk? Moreover, he has over 30 lives on his hands. And his situation is different from old Chao's. The lives on old Chao's hands were caused unintentionally by the Black King's loss of control. But this kid, he really can do it deliberately. Sigh. It's a pity to waste the legendary 4th King's Ruins. This is the same type as Champion Marquis's Ruins. Actually, if someone could discipline him properly, he might prove extraordinarily effective in critical moments. While everyone was chatting, Old Man Lu and Wu Quan stood up from their seats in the tea house and walked out. Old Man Lu grabbed Wu Quan's shoulder on the street, fumbled in his pocket, handed him the only 200 yuan bills he had left, gave him some serious instructions and then turned to leave. Lin Chia and the others walked up to Wu Quan, about to ask something when the latter suddenly spoke. Let's go. Aren't you taking me away? Let's leave now. Now. Lin Chia was startled. Why so sudden? What did you talk about? I lied to him saying I was going out with classmates. Chao Yuan raised an eyebrow. Going out? That excuse is too hasty. You could have said you're joining the military like your brother. Wu Quan shook his head and said, although Grandpa Lu is old, he built his fortune through business and isn't so easily fooled. Which military unit would accept minors nowadays? Besides, even if he believed it, he wouldn't let me go. When brother Qingzhu joined the military back then, Grandpa Lu wouldn't let him leave either. He had to climb over the wall and leave without permission. If I told him directly today, we really wouldn't be able to leave. But after you leave, when he discovers you're missing, won't he be more worried? What if he searches for you everywhere? Bailey Pang Pang frowned. He won't. I just wrote him a letter. After he reads it, he won't look for me. A letter? Lin Chia was surprised. I've been with you the whole time. When did you write a letter? Wu Quan didn't speak. He just calmly turned around, looking at two figures standing across the street. Hans Han Orphanage. The rain in the sky had gradually disappeared, with only thick dark clouds still covering the sky. Old man Lu put away his umbrella, pushed open the iron gate, and strode directly toward the kitchen, shouting into the house. You brats! Get ready for dinner. Old man Lu's voice echoed throughout the orphanage, which was completely quiet except for the dripping sound of water from the eaves falling into puddles. Old man Lu habitually walked into the kitchen, tied on an apron, poured yesterday's leftover dishes into the wok, and while skillfully stir-frying, muttered to the outside. Today little Quan is eating out with classmates and won't be back. The rest of us will just have a simple meal. After eating, we'll go buy some groceries in the afternoon. We'll make braised pork for dinner. Xiaoyan, have you finished your homework today? If you have, get me that bag of salt from the cabinet. Xiaoyan, Xiaoyan? Old man Lu called several times, but no one in the orphanage responded. He frowned, turned off the stove, and quickly walked out of the kitchen. In the silence, old man Lu pushed open the door to the small dormitory. Xiaoyan. He entered the small dormitory, only to find Lu Xiaoyan and Qian Cheng's beds empty, with only the three youngest children drowsily getting up from their beds. They rubbed their sleepy eyes and said softly, Grandpa Lu, you're back? Where are Xiaoyan and Qian Cheng? Old man Lu's brow furrowed. Sister Xiaoyan and brother Qian Cheng seem to have gone out. Gone out? Where to? We don't know. Grandpa Lu, as soon as you left after that phone call, they started packing. Brother Qian Cheng gave each of us a glass of juice to drink, and after drinking it, we somehow fell asleep. Oh right, before I fell asleep, I think I saw Sister Xiaoyan writing at the desk. Yes, I saw that too. As the three children gradually regained their senses, they began to chatter away. Old man Lu quickly walked to the desk and indeed found a letter on it. He quickly unfolded the letter and read it carefully. His pupils contracted slightly. Going out to explore with Wu Quan? Explore? How is this possible? Old man Lu's hand holding the letter trembled as he muttered. For some reason, the images of Wu Quan, Lin Chia, and the others suddenly appeared in his mind. The strange fire, Shin Boy joining the military, comrades visiting, Wu Quan, Xiaoyan and Qian Cheng leaving without saying goodbye. These thoughts flashed through his mind one after another. Old man Lu's frown deepened as he stared at the letter in his hand for a long time before placing it on the desk. All of you trying to hide things from me. Do you really think I can't sense anything? Old man Lu looked at the gloomy sky outside, his voice extremely hoarse. He stood there like a statue for a long time, then gritted his teeth and rushed out. He got on the old electric scooter at the door, twisted the handle forcefully and quickly disappeared at the end of the alley. At the entrance of the night watcher station in Linjiang City, a stretched Lincoln slowly started moving. Wu Quan sat with his head lowered at the edge of the car seat, with Lin Chia sitting beside him, constantly monitoring the surroundings with his mental power. Lin Chia looked up at the two motionless teenagers sitting on the opposite seat, then turned to Wu Quan. What's going on with these two? Did you forcibly control them? Wu Quan shook his head. No, although I can control their bodies, I can't control their minds. I can only control tangible things. Then this is. Do you want to know? Wu Quan looked into Lin Chia's eyes. Me, brother Qingzhu, and these two. The truth about that fire years ago, do you want to know? Yes. I can tell you, but you have to exchange it for information about brother Qingzhu. Wu Quan's expression was extremely serious, his eyes flickering with a faint light. Lin Chia narrowed his eyes. Is this the purpose of your surrender? just to know his whereabouts. Does it matter? Wu Quan asked in return. The current result is what you wanted. It doesn't matter where you take me as long as you tell me Brother Qingzhu's whereabouts. I can guarantee I'll stay quiet the whole way without causing any trouble. Lin Chia stared at him for a while and finally nodded. All right. Wu Quan was now classified as a superhuman, not an ordinary person, and considering his relationship with Shen Qingzhu, there was no need to hide things from him anymore. But I don't trust words, I only trust what I see myself. Behind Wu Quan, a black rope as thick as a thumb slithered out from the black chair like a snake, one end wrapping around his index fingertip, the other swaying in the air. This is the memory worm. By tying two people's fingers together, one can see a specific part of the other's memory. I'll open my memories about the fire to you, and you open yours about Brother Qingzhu to me. Lin Chia curiously examined the worm for a moment, and after confirming there were no issues, nodded. All right. He extended his index finger and connected with the memory worm. The next moment the scene around him rapidly distorted. Two figures were running rapidly through a dim alley. The crimson firelight illuminated the pitch-black night sky. Not far away, several buildings in the compound were completely engulfed in raging flames. Lin Chia's perspective merged with young Wu Quan's. He ran through the alley with his frail legs, trying his best to sprint, but could never catch up with the youth running ahead. From the silhouette that was undoubtedly Shen Qingzhu from 4 years ago, Wu Quan followed Shen Qingzhu into the orphanage, stopping in the courtyard. They looked up and the firelight cast their faces in red. The small dormitory building before them was completely consumed by the sea of fire. Faintly they could still hear the increasingly weak cries of children and old Lu's violent coughing. And amid this raging fire, at the top of the small dormitory, a distorted face made of flames appeared intermittently. What the hell is that thing? Shen Qingzhu frowned at the flame face, his expression extremely grave. 11-year-old Wu Quan, protected behind Shen Qingzhu, stared at the fire face in terror, his small face pale. As the two were frightened by this eerie sight, the children's cries from inside gradually disappeared, and the coughing grew extremely faint, leaving only the crackling sound of flames licking the building echoing in the empty courtyard. Shen Qingzhu's face grew increasingly grim. Wait here. I'm going to save them. He gritted his teeth, picked up a hot iron rod from nearby, and ignoring the fire face above, plunged headfirst into the sea of flames without hesitation. However, as soon as he reached the entrance of the dormitory, tentacle-like fire snakes extended from the flames, quickly grabbing for his limbs. Shen Qingzhu's eyes narrowed. Gripping the iron rod and relying on years of fighting experience and battle instinct, he nimbly dodged several tentacles. Just then, a flame-wrapped support pillar shot out from inside the building, hitting him squarely in the chest. Thud. With a dull sound, Shen Qingzhu flew backward like a broken kite and crashed heavily to the ground. Brother Qingzhu! Wu Quan shouted, quickly running to his side. Blood trickled from Shen Qingzhu's mouth as he struggled to stand, supporting himself with both hands on the ground, but several fire snakes had already slithered to his front. A look of determination flashed in Wu Quan's eyes. He quickly picked up the iron rod from the ground and stood in front of Shen Qingzhu. With strength from an unknown source, he forcefully beat back 2 fire snakes. Watch out! Shen Qingzhu tackled Wu Quan to the ground, avoiding the attacks of several more fire snakes. If he had been half a second later, Wu Quan's body would likely have had several more holes in it. He glared at Wu Quan beneath him and shouted, "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" Wu Quan lay on the ground, lips tightly pressed together, the firelight dancing in the reflection of his eyes, his young face full of stubbornness. Shen Qingzhu glared angrily at the eerie face above the fire, grabbed the now-bent iron rod from the ground, and charged like a madman directly toward the third-floor rooftop. He stepped on the edge of the rooftop, briefly soaring into the air, his sharp eyes filled with ferocity, raising the iron rod in his hand to smash down on the fiery face before him. Whoosh! The iron rod passed through the flame face as if it were nothing. Physical attacks had no effect on it. Shen Qingzhu's pupils contracted sharply as he lost his support in midair and plunged headfirst into the sea of fire below. Brother Qingzhu! Seeing this, tears uncontrollably streamed from Wu Quan's eyes, his heart-wrenching cries echoing through the sky. At the same time, strands of chaotic black light rippled around him, and his anxious eyes took on a blackness, becoming deep and mysterious. Just as he was desperately trying to rush into the fire, a roar came from within the flames. A vacuum domain swept through the surroundings, sucking out all the air in the courtyard. The flames covering the building and the eerie fire face in the sky instantly vanished without a trace. An unprecedented feeling of suffocation enveloped Wu Quan, making him dizzy and nearly causing him to collapse. Fortunately, this suffocation lasted less than 2 seconds before the air returned. Black embers swirled in the hot air. Among the ruins, a figure slowly stood up. He picked up a child from the rubble and staggered forward, but after just 2 steps he tripped and fell. Wu Quan quickly crossed the debris-strewn ground and ran to Shen Qingzhu. His clothes were now in tatters, his face covered in soot. Even as he fell, he still tightly protected the child in his arms. Wu Quan, Shen Qingzhu spoke hoarsely, one hand trembling as he grabbed Wu Quan's clothes, looking at him in a daze. Quickly save them. The ambulance will be here soon, our brothers and sisters. None of them can die. With those words, the mentally exhausted Shen Qingzhu passed out on the spot. Brother Qingzhu. Wu Quan shouted, immediately checking his breathing, and only slightly relaxed after confirming he was still alive. But when his hand touched the nose of the child in Shen Qingzhu's arms, his body trembled almost imperceptibly. No breathing, no heartbeat. He pried open the child's mouth, which was full of smoke and dust. The child was dead. He had died before Shen Qingzhu rescued him. Wu Quan knelt in the deathly silent ruins, staring at the unconscious Shen Qingzhu and the dead child he had so firmly protected, completely dumbfounded. Wu Quan came to his senses and frantically crawled out of the ruins to rescue the others in the small dormitory. Finally, when the frail Wu Quan gritted his teeth and carried the heavy old Lu to the open ground, he was already drenched in sweat. Without taking time to rest, he quickly checked the vital signs of the other children. In the fire scene, there were 4 children in total, 2 10-year-olds, 1 3-year-old and 1 4-year-old. Of these 4 children, 2 survived and 2 died. Strangely, the older children, Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing, didn't survive this disaster, while the 3-year-old and 4-year-old children lived. Wu Quan pried open Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing's mouths and found their oral and nasal cavities filled with smoke and dust. He had seen this kind of death when he was with the begging gang. They had been suffocated to death by thick smoke in the fire. Wu Quan's gaze then swept over the faces of the 2 surviving children, and he saw that each had a damp towel covering their face. Children of this age wouldn't know this kind of knowledge. If Wu Quan wasn't mistaken, this must have been done by Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing in their panic after the fire broke out. In that life-or-death moment, they had chosen to prioritize protecting the lives of their younger siblings. Old Lu must have rushed into the small dormitory after the fire started, inhaling the least amount of smoke, so he also survived, though temporarily unconscious. Ashes danced in the dim courtyard air as Wu Quan silently looked at the bodies of Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing, and the unconscious Shen Qingzhu and old Lu nearby, his fists tightly clenched. In his mind, he recalled the scene of Shen Qingzhu fighting desperately against the fire, and his final hoarse yet hopeful words. But in the end, Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing still died. He could already imagine what expression Shen Qingzhu would have when he woke up and saw their bodies. Wu Quan knew his brother Qingzhu too well. He would definitely hate himself for not extinguishing the fire sooner, for not returning home in time. He would stubbornly take all the blame upon himself and live in endless self-reproach and regret. Thinking of this 11-year-old child's eyes filled with deep sadness and guilt. He was going to disappoint Shen Qingzhu. If only you could come back to life. Wu Quan hugged his knees, helplessly crouching on the ground, staring at the 2 bodies and muttering to himself. Thump. A soft sound came from Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing's chests. Wu Quan was startled. As if sensing something, he looked down at his own hands and a faint glow appeared in his eyes. Can I control them? This thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Wu Quan tentatively reached out his hand and waved gently at the 2 bodies. The 2 hearts that had stopped beating actually started to beat again under the power of Emperor's dominion. As the hearts began to beat, blood quickly flowed through the bodies. The darkness in Wu Quan's eyes grew deeper, and his control over the 2 bodies became more precise. Heart control, lung function control, kidney function, spleen function, stomach function. Wu Quan slowly stood up. His hands waved in the air like a conductor directing the bodies. The two cold corpses actually began to show signs of life. This wasn't corpse manipulation, but rather controlling all their organs to make these dead bodies come alive again. Their heartbeats, pulses, and blood pressure all gradually approached normal levels under his control. The only drawback was that no matter how close these two bodies came to normal people, their spirits and consciousness were already dead. They were just living corpses. Their gazes remained hollow and lifeless. However, these things could be changed through some small organs. Under Wu Quan's dominion, their empty eyes began to shine with vitality, and their facial muscles twitched continuously, seemingly controlling different expressions. A few minutes later, Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing had completely come back to life, and stood quietly before him. A gleam of joy appeared in Wu Quan's eyes. Oh, Wu Quan, I am Li Xiaoyan. I'm not hurt. I'm fine. Brother Qing, don't worry. Wu Quan, dinner's ready. Why are you calling him? He's just a block of wood. If he wants to be alone, just let him be alone. Wu Quan controlled their mouths and vocal cords. After each attempt, their speech and actions became more like everyday life, until finally, there was no trace of abnormality. Wu Quan let out a long breath, his gaze falling on the unconscious Shen Qingzhu. After a moment, the corner of his mouth curved into a pure smile. Brother Qingzhu, he murmured. You saved everyone. Lin Chia suddenly opened his eyes. At the same time, Wu Quan sitting beside him also opened his eyes. The memory worm quickly retracted into the darkness behind Wu Quan. The two stared at each other in silence. So that's it. In Lin Chia's mind, everything connected and he suddenly understood. From the beginning, Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing were controlled by you. Your emperor's dominion only works within 3 kilometers, so even when you went to school, you could only go to the middle school closest to the orphanage. Once you left that range, Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing in the orphanage would immediately turn back into corpses, scaring Director Lu and the other children. No wonder you were willing to kill the entire Li family rather than move. No wonder your first request after I caught you was to see Director Lu. Only by getting Director Lu away from the orphanage could Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing leave there, always keeping a safe distance from you in the shadows, preventing them from losing control and turning back into corpses. Lin Chia looked at Wu Quan with complex emotions in his eyes. So, for these 4 years, you've been playing the roles of 3 people? It's not that difficult, Wu Quan slowly said. Although it was challenging at first and I would often lose connection with them, it got easier over time. Wu Quan looked down at his hands, seemingly still processing the memories he had seen in Lin Chia's mind, his expression somewhat dazed. The memory fragment Lin Chia had shared with him was from finding Shen Qingzhu in hell to everyone leaving, but even this small segment had a tremendous impact on Wu Quan. Wu Quan closed his eyes, lay back on the leather sofa, took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. His body, tense until now, finally relaxed completely, and a heavy weight lifted from his heart. The corner of his mouth curved into a faint smile. Brother Qingzhu wasn't dead, so he would definitely come back. They would meet again someday. Knowing this made even being locked in a dark prison worthwhile. The vehicle drove onto the outbound road, steadily approaching the suburbs. Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the roadside, blocking the vehicle's path. Screech. The stretched Lincoln braked quickly, the inertia causing everyone inside to sway as they looked up through the window. When they saw the figure clearly, everyone was stunned. It was an elderly man sweating profusely with a slightly bent back. His wrinkled face looked at the vehicle in front of him, his eyes filled with determination. Director Lu? Bailey Peng Peng exclaimed in surprise. What's he doing here? It seems he came after Wu Quan. And Qingyu looked back and saw that Wu Quan was also stunned in the car, staring blankly at the figure in front of the vehicle. But how did he know where we were going? There's only one road out of Linjiang. He must have come here early to wait, the secretary explained timely. In front of the car, old Lu stepped forward, his gaze penetrating the windshield to see Wu Quan, Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing sitting in the back. His weathered face showed an expression of just as I thought. He kept me in the dark so well, old Lu smiled bitterly. In the sky, the dark clouds that had almost dispersed began to gather again. Lin Chia looked at the figure in front of the car, remained silent for a moment, then turned to look at Wu Quan whose lips were tightly pressed. It seems we can't avoid this encounter. Wu Quan took a deep breath. I'll get out. He opened the door and stepped onto the road with Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing following closely behind. Their previously rigid faces suddenly became animated, their eyes sparkling with life. Grandpa Lu. Li Xiaoyan shouted, rushing forward and throwing herself into old Lu's arms. She looked up at old Lu, her rosy cheeks and eyes somewhat evasive. Grandpa Lu, why are you here? Old Lu said sternly, if I hadn't come, who would know what you're up to? Old Lu's expression was gloomy, but the anger and resentment that had built up in his heart dissipated by nearly half the moment Li Xiaoyan threw herself into his arms. Partly because of his instinctive softness toward the children, and partly because Li Xiaoyan's gesture conveyed a message to him. See, the children still care about me. Old Lu held Li Xiaoyan and looked at Wu Quan and Qian Qing. You two, don't you have anything to say? Wu Quan was silent for a moment. I'm sorry, Grandpa Lu, but we must go. Go where? Don't tell me you three kids who haven't even grown up properly want to join the military like that kid Shen. Wu Quan was speechless. The military excuse probably wouldn't work anymore, but he couldn't exactly tell him that he was going to prison for killing someone, could he? As Wu Quan was struggling with this dilemma, the car door opened again and Lin Chia got out, saying gently, Director Lu, these three children indeed have something to do, but the specifics involve national secrets that can't be disclosed for now. National secrets, humph. Old Lu looked at Lin Chia, his gaze growing increasingly complex. After that inexplicable fire years ago, Shen was always secretive, and later when he said he was joining the military, there were many suspicious points. When you all came to visit, it was the same. I was surrounded by those thugs, and the next day they came begging for mercy with missing limbs. The Li Corporation tried to force us to move, and before dawn they were all wiped out. Shen went with you people and hasn't returned in 4 years, and now you want to take these children away too? Are you trying to kill me? Old Lu became increasingly agitated as he spoke. He raised his trembling hands and slammed them heavily on the Lincoln's hood. Bang, bang. His face was full of confusion and pain. He stared at Lin Chia, opened his cracked lips and hoarsely asked, Tell me, who exactly are you people? Old Lu's voice echoed in the air and everyone in and outside the car fell silent. After a long while Lin Chia finally spoke. Director Lu, our identity is a national secret which I cannot disclose. But we are certainly not bad people. We are indeed soldiers, just protecting this country in a way that ordinary people cannot understand. Shen Qingzhu is also one of us, and everything I told you about his achievements is true, and in fact he has done far more than I described. Perhaps when the war ends and our existence can be made public, you will naturally understand. Old Lu's brows furrowed tightly. He pointed at Li Xiaoyan in his arms and at Wu Quan and Qian Qing in the distance, saying, What about them? They're just 14 or 15-year-old children. Are they also going to do those things? It's too dangerous. I don't agree. Their situation is special. They don't need to do the same things we do, nor do they need to risk their lives. And the place they're going to is very safe, Lin Chia said seriously. Hearing this, Old Lu's expression relaxed somewhat. His gaze swept over Wu Quan and the others and he spoke with complex emotions. Can we talk to them alone? Lin Chia glanced at Wu Quan. Of course. Old Lu took the three of them to the roadside, speaking seriously about something. Wu Quan occasionally turned his head to look at Lin Chia and the others. Chao Yuan lowered the car window and asked in a low voice, Chia, will that kid use Director Lu's presence as an opportunity to refuse going to the Jiajie Institute with us? Before seeing the memories of the fire from 4 years ago, Lin Chia couldn't have been sure of the answer, but after seeing that memory he had gained some new understanding of Wu Quan's character. This child grew up with Shen Qingzhu and would never betray his word. He had promised not to cause trouble along the way, so he wouldn't try to escape by other means. He won't, he shook his head. Just as Lin Chia predicted, Wu Quan and the others soon walked back to the car. Old Lu slowly approached, looking as if he had aged several years, and spoke resignedly. Since they're determined to go with you, let them. Please take good care of them, I beg you. Old Lu hunched over, bowed deeply to Lin Chia. Lin Chia supported him and spent quite some time persuading him before he finally left. Lin Chia watched Old Lu's lonely retreating figure, his heart filled with mixed emotions. These children, though not Old Lu's biological children, were dearer to him than his own flesh and blood. Watching one child after another leave him was undoubtedly painful. But what was more admirable was that he could respect each child's choice. Wu Quan watched old Lu leave, then calmly turned around and voluntarily opened the car door and sat inside. "Let's go." Lin Chia nodded and the vehicle started again, speeding toward the military airport in the suburbs. Great summer. Fasting Institute. An airplane circled over the sea area, slowly landing on the dedicated helipad of the Fasting Institute. Lin Chia jumped off the military aircraft with Wu Quan, with Bailey Pang Pang and others following closely behind. Back again. And Qingyu looked at the familiar surroundings, seemingly recalling something, a smile curling at the corner of his mouth. "Yes." Lin Chia nodded. "Last time we were here we were detained patients and prisoners. After all this time this place hasn't changed a bit." "You were prisoners here?" Zhang Er asked curiously. "Surprising, right?" And Qingyu smiled. "Me, Chia Chaoyuan, we all stayed in the Fasting Institute at different times. Later we escaped together, which formed the beginning of the Nightfall team." "I see." Zhang Er nodded, half-jokingly saying, "Then the feng shui here must be excellent, otherwise it wouldn't have produced so many exceptional people." While everyone was chatting, a figure in a white coat approached from a distance, accompanied by several guards. "Dr. Li." Seeing the familiar figure, Lin Chia exclaimed with surprise, "Why are you here?" As Lin Chia's former attending physician and the director of Sunshine Psychiatric Hospital, Lin Chia knew him very well. The handwritten notebook in his mental hospital memories was written by this man. Dr. Li smiled helplessly. "The war situation is intense at the front. After Master went to command the war pass, the prison area of the Fasting Institute was left without leadership. Later, Commander Zhua and others decided to let me, the head of the hospital, take on dual roles, replacing Master Chen's original work. Now I manage both the outer prison and the inner hospital. Commander Zhua just informed me that you would be bringing an important prisoner, so I rushed over from the hospital immediately." Dr. Li's gaze fell on Wu Quan, and he pushed up the black-framed glasses on his nose, asking curiously, "Is this the Emperor of Domination?" "Yes. The Fourth King ruins. Quite rare." Dr. Li glanced at Li Xiaoyan and Qian Qing. "And these two? Are they his general and prime minister?" "General and prime minister? No, they're just bodies he dominates." Dr. Li raised an eyebrow. "Oh." While Dr. Li was examining Wu Quan was similarly examining him. This scholarly doctor with black-framed glasses looked frail and no different from ordinary people, but being stared at by those eyes made Wu Quan feel uncomfortable. Lin Chia turned to Wu Quan and instructed, "From now on this will be your new residence and Dr. Li will be your caretaker. Follow all his arrangements, understand?" Wu Quan remained silent for a moment, then calmly asked, "When can I leave? Or am I to be confined here forever?" Lin Chia was taken aback. "Not necessarily, it depends on your behavior," Dr. Li answered for Lin Chia. Wu Quan lowered his head without speaking. "Now that we've delivered him, we'll be going." Lin Chia glanced at the few guards behind Dr. Li, hesitating for a moment. "Or, should we help you escort him back to prison first?" "No need, you go about your business. Here he can't cause any trouble." Dr. Li smiled and waved, "Goodbye." After bidding farewell, Lin Chia and his group boarded the plane again, flying directly to Beijing. Watching Lin Chia and the others leave, Dr. Li patted Wu Quan's shoulder and said gently, "Come with me, I'll show you around." Wu Quan nodded silently, following behind Dr. Li. "This is the prison area where you'll be staying. Though it's a bit rudimentary, the basic facilities are adequate. For other prisoners it might be boring, but not for you. You're still a minor and in school, so I'll arrange for several teachers to give you one-on-one classes. So this will also be your private classroom from now on. This is the cafeteria. Every day at mealtime you'll be allowed out to eat and move around. Better be quick or the food will get cold. This is the activity area, shared with Sunshine Psychiatric Hospital." Dr. Li took Wu Quan on a tour of the Fasting Institute, finally arriving at a corner of the activity area. There, a disheveled man in blue and white striped clothing was crouching on the ground, muttering to himself. Seeing Dr. Li approach, he looked up, somewhat puzzled by Wu Quan beside him. "This is old dog Wu, my patient." Dr. Li pushed his glasses. "This is Wu Quan, a new prisoner." Old Dog Wu stared intently at Wu Quan's pitch-black eyes, frowning slightly. He slowly stood up from the ground, his murky eyes showing rare clarity. He opened his mouth and spoke deliberately. Emperor of Domination? That's right, Dr. Li nodded. Wu Quan frowned at Old Dog Wu, seemingly confused. Old Dog Wu remained silent for a moment, then extended his hand voluntarily, saying calmly, "Hello, just call me Old Dog." Wu Quan looked at the dirty hand, his frown deepening, but eventually he reached out and shook it. "Hello." The northern border. A pixel-styled McLaren slowly parked at the edge of the wall of mist. "Are you sure you want to leave now?" Jean Yen sat in the driver's seat, turning to look beside her. "Your wounds haven't fully healed." Leng Xian calmly said, "There's no time to wait. I've already delayed too long in Great Summer. If I delay any longer, the plan will fail." Seeing this, Jean Yen stopped persuading him and instead took out a medicine bottle from her pocket, handing it to Leng Xian. "Since you're leaving, take this to Xiaonan on your way." "What is this?" "Oh right, you just got out of the Fasting Institute, so you don't know about Xiaonan's change of plans." Jean Yen repeated what Si Xiaonan had told her. After hesitating for a moment, Leng Xian shook his head and said, "I'm afraid I can't deliver it to her on my way. This time when I enter the mist, I won't be meeting up with her again." "Why?" "The operation on the Pamir Plateau forced out Loki's backup plan hidden in my body. Now I've completely escaped his surveillance, transitioning from visible to hidden, which is very beneficial for our plan. If I return directly to Asgard and Xiaonan's side, it will not only make Loki suspicious but also allow him to plant monitoring methods on me again. I want to take advantage of my current freedom to make more preparations." Jean Yen nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. Then I'll send someone else to deliver it. Take care of yourself." Leng Xian got out of the car and walked straight toward the rolling mist. The silver ring on his right hand emitted a faint glow, protecting his body as he disappeared into the mist. Jean Yen sat in the car, letting out a long sigh. Ring ring ring. The crisp phone ring sounded. "Hello. Lin Chia and the others are returning to Beijing? I understand. I've finished here too, I'll head over right away." Upper Capital City. Lin Chia stood waiting at the military airport entrance for a short while before seeing a convoy of vehicles approaching majestically from the distance. Jean Yen opened the car door and got out. Seeing that Lin Chia and the others were already waiting, she raised an eyebrow. "All matters taken care of?" "Yes," Lin Chia nodded. "I've finished here too. Let's go." Everyone boarded the military aircraft bound for Qianlong Pass. After more than an hour, they slowly descended onto the landing pad. Passing through the inner wall of Qianlong Pass, they could see a pixel cruise ship in the docking area that was particularly eye-catching from a distance. When Lin Chia and the others approached and saw its structure clearly, Bailey Pang Pang and Chao Yuan were both shocked, their mouths hanging open. Such a huge ship, and it sails through the mist? What material is this? Why is it made of particle blocks? Bailey Pang Pang touched the ship's surface and clicked his tongue. "Where can I buy this? I'd like to get one too." "This thing isn't for sale. The Upper Evil Association's chairperson built it herself," and Qingyu kindly reminded him. They boarded the ship, opened the doors, and the pixel cruise ship slowly sailed out of Qianlong Pass, heading straight toward the misty border not far away. On the cruise ship, Bailey Pang Pang and Chao Yuan, who were gradually exploring, let out successive exclamations. "Wine cellar, gym, swimming pool. Holy crap. There's even a DJ dance hall. This place is bigger than I imagined. What's this male escort VIP suite thing? Can I take a look inside? Wait, what brand is this motorcycle? I've never seen it before." Jean Yen walked leisurely behind Bailey Pang Pang and the others with her hands in her pockets, hearing their exclamations and barely able to control her upturned lips. "This is the Dodge Tomahawk, a 1:1 replica of the 2003 American company prototype. It has 10 cylinders total and can reach a top speed of nearly 700 kilometers per hour. So isn't it cool? America 2003? Bailey Pang Pang looked at her in confusion. "What are you talking about? Oh, I almost forgot. In your world's 2003, other countries had already been swallowed by the mist. Pretend I didn't say anything." Jean Yen shrugged. Bailey Pang Pang stared at her in confusion for a long time before looking away. "By the way, can your ability create anything?" "Basically yes, Jin Yan nodded and said, all material things in the world are essentially composed of particles. Pixels are also a type of particle and ones that can freely control size and microscopic physical laws. I can replicate anything visible to the naked eye on a 1:1 scale, but only if I understand its structure and principles can it function as intended. For example, this Dodge Tomahawk. Only because I've mastered how each part works could I create it. Otherwise, it would just be a motorcycle model with the appearance of a Dodge Tomahawk that couldn't actually be ridden. Chao Yuan looked at Jin Yan in surprise. Are you saying you completely understand the structural principles of every part of this motorcycle? What about this cruise ship? Such a complex large vehicle. You understand all of that too. For this ship, I've mastered about 70% of it. Jin Yan pondered for a moment. Building this ship requires too much knowledge, covering nearly 100 disciplines including fluid dynamics, aerodynamics, engineering, thermodynamics, and more. Some of the more obscure knowledge I haven't learned yet, but fortunately, I have an entire team of the world's top engineers backing me up, so it was relatively easy. Lin Qier and the others exchanged glances, looking at Jin Yan as if she were some kind of monster. At the same age when ordinary people struggle with college courses, this woman could already build ocean-crossing cruise ships with her knowledge alone. Since you can freely control pixel particles and their physical properties, can you turn stone into gold? And Qingyu asked curiously. Not yet. I can't shrink pixel particles to the level of controllable elemental fusion. Currently, I can only shrink them to the molecular level. However, replicating objects with molecular-level pixel particles, while achieving perfection, is extremely time-consuming. Even something the size of a thumbnail would take at least 3 days to replicate. I see. Then why don't you try combining mystery power with microscopic physics to create? Listening to the conversation between Qingyu and Jin Yan, Lin Qier, Chao Yuan, and the others felt their heads spinning. A simple cruise ship tour had suddenly evolved into profound academic exchange. But from this perspective, the pixel ability had an enormous gap between its lower and upper limits. The difference was like heaven and earth. If an ordinary person obtained this ability, being able to create a decent handgun with pixels would be considered good. But in the hands of a terrifying engineering genius like Jin Yan, this was an ability that could casually create a star-destroying cannon. As Qingyu and Jin Yan's discussion grew more intense, Lin Qier simply turned and left. If he continued listening, he would start questioning his own intelligence. The cruise ship had entered the mist and was heading directly toward the Upper Evil Association's headquarters, Utopia. Lin Qier walked around the deck once, then returned to his room and sank his consciousness into the god's mental hospital in his mind. Lin Qier, wearing a white coat, walked along the hospital corridor. Various attendants approached him, respectfully greeting him. Good morning, Director. Morning. Morning, Director. Have you eaten? Want to join us? Morning. You go ahead, I'm not hungry. You've done well, child. Morning, huh? Lin Qier stopped mid-sentence and looked helplessly at the kindly-faced Yelandi before him. After saying those words, Yelandi's gaze completely ignored Lin Qier and slowly walked forward, continuously muttering to himself. You've done well, child. You've done well, child. Lin Qier let out a long sigh. During this return to the abstinence facility, he had forgotten to ask Dr. Li about Yelandi's condition. He would have to make a special trip next time when he had the chance. Lin Qier walked through the corridor, went straight to the director's office and entered the underground prison. He entered the hospital this time to conduct an experiment. In Linjiang City, although Lin Qier hadn't killed any mysteries, he hadn't forgotten that earlier in hell he had killed a large number of corrupted angels and demons. Angels and demons were also mythological creatures, but they had died countless ages ago and their souls were gone. What Lin Qier had killed were merely corpses controlled by Cthulhu's power. So was there a possibility that the Cthulhu creatures he had personally killed could become hospital attendants? With this thought in mind, Lin Qier walked to the center of the underground prison. His gaze swept around and he suddenly froze. The vast prison was completely empty. The scene he had imagined, countless Cthulhu creatures roaring and howling, did not appear. Could they not enter this hospital? Lin Qia's brows furrowed tightly.